Hello, everybody, and welcome to another slice of Mind Tick. And this week we have a very special guest. She's known as the plant-based dietitian. She has a Master of Science degree in nutrition. She's written 9 books, is that correct?
It
And
is.
hosted your own TV show. I could go on, but let's meet all the way from Los Angeles, Julieanna Hever. How are you?
Hello, it's such a pleasure to meet you and be here with you.
Is it sunny in Los Angeles?
Yes, but we didn't have sun for a long time, so I think everyone's very joyful about it again because we
Hmm.
Californians are a bit spoiled, to
I
be
think
honest.
whatever the weather, you've certainly got more sun than we've got in Scotland.
Yes,
Have you ever been to Scotland?
dying to go to Scotland. I wish we were doing this interview live.
We should. Well, maybe if this goes well, I think we should definitely do the next one in person. Either I'll come to Los Angeles or you can come to Scotland.
Or both.
Or both. Let's do
Best
that.
of both
Let's
worlds.
do a series.
Yes, sounds
Um,
good.
okay, so I guess we should start on how did you go down the path? What led you on the path of nutrition and plant-based nutrition?
It's quite a long journey, and it all started, I'll try to summarize it really quickly, but I remember being a little girl
Uh-huh.
and I was a ballerina. Like my mom says that I danced before I walked, so I was always in the ballet studio. And I grew up, in front of little dance mirrors in the dance studio and my little, leotard and tights. And at certain age, girls go through the changes, but you don't really know what's going on, but you're standing there in front of the mirror.
Uh-huh.
But one day I was standing there with my ballerina colleagues and my dance teacher, Miss Debbie, called out from across the room, Juliana, cut out your snacks.
Oh, really?
And yeah, she called me out and it was like horrifying. I didn't know what she meant because I was probably like 11,
Uh-huh.
but it was really embarrassing.
Uh-huh.
And I knew I didn't know that it was literally going to be the seed that was the trajectory of my entire career and my passion in life. But I also knew that I wanted to learn everything there was to know about body image and diet and nutrition. So I just started reading. And this was before internet, of course. And
Mhm.
so I was just reading every book I can get my hands on. And then a few years later, I stumbled on a book by John Robbins called Diet for a New America. And it was the first book published that connected diet to health, the
Mhm.
environment, and animal welfare.
Okay, cool.
And I had no idea about how any of that worked. And it was kind of shocking. And so I decided right then and there, okay, that's it. I'm not going to contribute to this ever again. That's it. I was like horrified. So my parents are freaked out. They're like, you're going to be a veg of what? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know how to cook. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I don't want to eat animal products, but I had no idea what that meant. I had no vegetarian friends. So I was winging it. I was just doing, eating the side dishes and, whatever I can get my hands on. And my parents, being good parents, were worried about me. And so they had what I like to call, they staged like an intervention for me.
Okay.
Because they enlisted our family friend who's a nurse, Kendra, and we all went out to the steakhouse.
Yeah.
And they ordered me a teriyaki steak with a pineapple ring on top. And I remember looking at the steak when it came, and it hadn't been that long. I'd grown up eating meat, but I
Yeah.
remember it's like once you know, you can't unknow.
Uh-huh.
And it was really hard to cut into that piece of meat and take that first bite. But
Uh-huh.
Kendra was telling me I'm going to be deficient in B12 and iron and all these things I didn't know what she was talking about. And so I remember, well, okay, I'll just go back to being normal. And so I did, I went back to being normal and eating
Uh-huh.
regular diet.
So what age are
But I
you at
kept
this point?
thinking, what, how old?
Yeah.
Probably 16,
Right.
17.
Okay. Okay.
And, I just remember thinking, but I don't think the vegetarians are dying of these deficiencies because I haven't heard about that.
Uh-huh.
Whatever I've heard in the news was that they're healthy. So I knew I just wanted to keep learning about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't. So I went back and I was always interested in nutrition and fitness. And a few years later, so I live in Los Angeles, and in Los Angeles, everyone becomes an actor. I'm sure you've heard.
Yes.
Like a
Yes.
thing. Not all of us, but we do tend to
Mostly.
go there. Pardon?
Mostly become actors.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
par for the course in
Yeah.
this environment. So I was acting a lot and I was doing a lot of theater, and I did go to the UK. I was in England studying theater. So that was kind of
Okay.
cool, but I was close.
Whereabouts are you in England?
We went to the program I was with took us everywhere in England except London. So I've probably spent a total of 100 or 200 hours at Heathrow, but I've never been inside London.
Okay.
And I remember my favorite part was practicing a Shakespearean monologue to Shakespeare's grave in Stratford upon Avon. That was pretty
Wow.
cool.
Yeah. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. good old days. So I was acting, and I'm back in LA, and I'm doing, I was doing theater, but I was also in an arts high school, and I was doing like, I got an agent finally. My parents let me get an agent. And so I was doing like a little bit of modeling and movies and TV and film, like commercial kind of work. And then one day my manager called me and said, okay, well, you got to drop a few pounds, for the camera. Oh, okay, here we go again. So she sent me to her personal trainer. And
Right.
I always loved fitness. I was like obsessively loved exercise.
Uh-huh.
And so I went to this trainer and I fell in love with this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect side gig while I'm pursuing acting. So
Yeah.
that's it. I was finishing UCLA undergrad and I became a personal trainer. I was like, that was going to be my career, side career. But then I started doing personal training and immediately people were like, well, what should I eat? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like we have a chapter in the personal training handbook, but trainers really give a lot of nutrition information.
Uh-huh.
They don't have the background,
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to know what I was going to say because I knew how important diet was because I've been studying it my whole life.
Hmm.
So I thought I was done with school. I always hated school, but I was like, I got to know. So I signed up and went to graduate school in nutrition. And this is the first time in my life that I loved school. And I was like getting straight A's and, geeking out on everything because I was getting all the answers
Uh-huh.
to those questions I wanted to know my whole
Yeah.
life. And then that's it. So then I finished grad school. I had my baby, my first baby, and I started reading more. And I was like, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to go revisit this whole vegetarian thing because now I could look at the science and I know how to
Mhm.
analyze statistics and I know how to look at physiology and nutrition, all that. And that was it. I changed my diet to plant-based. It was just starting to be called plant-based. Dr. T. Colin Campbell named it whole food plant-based. So nobody knew what that was at the time, just a few people, like his disciples.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, everything changed about my health overnight, just
Really.
completely transformed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like lifelong acne, lifelong sinus infections, lifelong GI problems gone. Just, it was incredible. So I'm like, oh my gosh, why is nobody talking about this? I
Uh-huh.
wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And I did. That's what I started doing, was just shouting it from the rooftops. And it's been amazing ever since.
That is amazing. I mean, one thing I've noticed when I've been to the States, it'd be interesting to get, I don't know, maybe it's different in Los Angeles, but more recently, but I've noticed that actually there's not that many, I would say, healthy eateries. If you just want to go out and about in America, is there a lot more vegetarian restaurants and sort of healthy eating places now?
Lee, sadly, the vegetarian restaurants, which everyone wants to go with me to because they
Mm.
think I'm going to be happy there, are even sometimes less healthy than other restaurants
Oh, really?
because they're trying to appease the audience of meat eaters. And so they're trying to mimic all the stuff that you would get in a
Okay.
meat restaurant, whatever. And so there's all these like really processed foods, oils, sugars,
Hmm.
flour, just stuff that I don't recommend anyway. So it's very, very hard to find healthy food in restaurants anywhere.
Hmm.
But I think sadly, those are some of the hardest nowadays. Just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know, it's very stereotypical to sort of associate America with burgers or whatever, but wherever I've been on holiday, and admittedly, yes, I'm in the touristy places, but that's all you eat. If you wanted to make a conscious decision to eat healthily, it's actually pretty difficult.
It is on the road. There's ways to do it. I help my clients do that, navigate travel
Yeah, I've
and guide
seen
them.
I've seen some of your travel on Insta. Yes.
Oh,
Very interesting tips. Very interesting tips. Um, what my next question was going to be, how can a plant-based diet influence mental health and overall well-being, do you think?
oh, it's such a good question. Well, I like to think about the body as a whole, right? Our mental well-being is definitely linked to our physical well-being.
Definitely. Uh-huh.
And the beautiful part about that is that when you eat a whole food plant-based diet, it's the only diet that's ever been shown to reverse advanced stage cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes, big top killers.
Mhm.
It's the only diet, it's like associated, well established in the literature to reduce high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol. It's now we're showing stuff with cognitive function
Mhm.
and enhanced mood. And we're definitely seeing more, like the literature is just blooming. Like at first we were like scrounging for these few studies, and now there's just every day there's a new study on a new organ system or a new part of the body that it's influencing.
Am I right in saying that you've been involved in some of these studies?
I wrote 2 review articles for physicians in
Uh-huh.
peer-reviewed medical journals, but I haven't done actual ground research where I'm actually doing the studies. But actually, that's not true. I haven't not published. I've done research, but we never published the data,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately.
Uh-huh.
But instead, I'm more of an analyst of the
Yeah, yeah.
data. reading it every day, but I'm not really on the ground floor in a university studying a lab.
I'm going to turn round a moment, so please excuse me. I'm going to grab something from the bookcase.
Okay.
I think I told you that about my diagnosis, which seems to be all fine now. So I was given 6 months to live. That was 3.5 years ago. And at the time, somebody sent me this book, which I'll read out for those who obviously can't see it. It's the How Not to Die cookbook. And I was pretty mortified, I think, at the time, because I'm like, well, that's kind of insensitive to be sending
Oh,
someone who's been diagnosed with terminal cancer a How Not to Die cookbook. But I mentioned it. We had another guest on from Perthshire, and she was saying, because I mentioned this book, and she said, "Oh, that book, it's amazing." So I'm due to revisit, and I wonder whether presumably you've heard of the book.
oh yeah, I'm really good friends with Dr. Michael Greger. He's
Oh, are
an
you
amazing,
right? Okay.
yes, he's a
I
very
should
good friend.
I should
And
probably
he's,
have checked that before.
oh no, that's okay. It doesn't matter. But I'm so grateful for the work he's done, because it's, that's the original book, How Not to Die, is New
Mm.
York Times bestseller. But he also just released, if you haven't seen it yet, instead of revisiting that one, there's a new one called How Not to Age. And it just came
Oh,
out in December, and it is mind-blowingly extraordinary. Like all the data on aging, health span, longevity, and diet. And it's just, I think he cited 13,000 studies in this one book,
wow.
this poem. So
Okay.
he's extraordinary. And what's so great also is I remember when he was wanted to do this, and I was like, what is he talking about? But he was so ahead of his times. He decided to make a website called nutritionfacts.org, and he was going to offer free nutrition advice videos on every subject. And he would go through the alphabet every day, however, he'd go through the alphabet and go through all the research on the subject, and he would do all these videos. So you can go on there, you could listen to, like, I don't know, thousands of videos on
Wow.
anything you want to know about health, diet, nutrition. He's amazing. And the man doesn't sleep. I don't know how he does what he does and produces what he does, but he's an amazing human, and he's done so much for the world.
Well,
So I'm
having
glad that your friend sent you that book.
having having been incensed at the time,
Uh,
I have pledged to, because I think I've got two. So this is the How Not to Die cookbook.
Yeah, he has the book How Not to Die, then the How Not to Die cookbook, then How Not to Diet, and the How Not to Diet cookbook.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've
And yeah,
got
yeah, that's the
that's the
OG. And then he's
actual,
got
yeah.
How Not to Age, and the How Not to Age cookbook, I think, is coming out next year. Yes. Again, I don't know how the man does it.
You can get them on audiobook.
Yeah.
Bet
Oh
you
yeah.
can. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's my next audiobook. Now I know this is going to be a difficult question and you must get asked it a lot. But is there a particular food that you think helps boost mood or reduce anxiety? I know vegetables
So
generally, but if it was, you hear of these superfoods and whatever. I just wondered, is there anything that you would go, if there's one thing you're going to do, eat that?
So there is no such thing as a superfood, and there's no such thing as one food that's going to kill you. It's the overall totality of what you eat. And the question not asked often enough is, compared to what?
Hmm.
So compared to kale, brown rice is not as good as kale.
Yeah.
Compared to, white rice, brown rice is better. Compared to a burger, white rice is better. So it's like, like you kind of go down the line. It's like, what are you comparing it to?
Yeah.
But I'll say for mood, and again for health, if you feel good and you're going to have your energy flowing, everything's going to feel good, your mental state is going to be better. Your anxiety can be quelled. You're basically giving yourself a foundation.
Hmm.
When your body feels good, and you probably know because you've been through such a journey. My goodness, if anyone knows, it's you. Like, when you feel good, you can do anything.
Hmm.
And when you
Hmm.
don't feel good, it's like the whole world just changes. So eating a diet based on vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, and infinite tasty combinations
Yeah.
is what we know to be the healthiest way to eat.
Hmm. I saw something on your Instagram recently as well, um, and I've I've taken up running again to try and do some exercise. And in the UK, we have the NHS Couch to 5K, which takes you through a program of running 5K within, I think it's 9 weeks. So I have my first, what I have over here is called park runs. So they have them all over the country. And every morning at 9 o'clock, every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, all these park runs take place all over England. I think they're 9:30 in Scotland. I'm down to England tomorrow, so I'm going to do a park. I'm going to try and do a park run tomorrow. So what I've tried to do this week is not eat as much. I'm thinking it's a power power to weight ratio, right? So if I can drop a couple of pounds before the weekend, then I've got less mass to get round. Right? It's basic physics. So, but there was something going back to something on your Instagram, which was just eat when you're hungry. And actually, I've found that I've not eaten that much because you like, well, actually, or you're fasting. I think there's an element of fasting you was on your Instagram as well. And so sometimes, I mean, the other day I didn't eat till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then I kind of had a smoothie and a bit of a snack or whatever, avocado and on toast with some boiled eggs for dinner, and that was actually enough. But I think you just get in the habit of it's breakfast time. I must eat breakfast. It's lunchtime. I'm going to eat lunch now, and then have a big. Especially we're trying to get the kids down. Got 2 young kids. By the time we
Oh,
get them to bed, you're eating at 9 o'clock at night, and then you sit watch the telly for half an hour, and then you get to bed. So it's just all sitting there. So I think that there's a huge thing to say about just eat when you're hungry. And I know it's
there's
fairly
so much
obvious.
to say about that, but you're literally, that food is literally sitting in you and it's
Mhm,
not metabolized the way it would be earlier in the day. So it's really important to try to give yourself 3 hour window before going to bed
mhm,
without eating. That's ideal. But the thing about hunger, which I find mind blowing, because now I've worked with thousands of people, because I've been doing this for about 20 years now or more. And I've noticed that everything about food is socialized into us.
mhm.
There's no breakfast is the most important meal of the day, came from Kellogg's, the cereals and breakfast
I was,
company.
do you know what? Just stopping you. I thought that because I thought, well, everyone says breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and then, but I actually feel better. So I've got a friend who can run very fast, and he says he can't run unless so he has to have porridge or something, slow release, an hour before he runs. I don't know, I can't do that. I have to run on like an empty stomach. I have to run by 9 or 10 in the morning, and I have to run on an empty stomach because I can't, but again, I'm thinking, but there's that little voice in the back of your head going, but the breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It was Kellogg's, was it?
Yes. So just so break fast. It's whenever you break the fast after. So
Right.
if you have time in the fasted state, the research here is mounting too. So what I teach now, I've been teaching plant-based nutrition for 20 years, but in the last, I don't know, almost 10 years, I've been teaching time restricted eating too, because that data
Mhm,
is off the charts. It's just coming out like crazy. And so, when you go to sleep on hopefully an empty stomach, at least you start to get there. And then you wake up, and most people aren't hungry first thing in the morning. And
mhm.
we force ourselves to eat because we think we're supposed to. Just like our mom said, you can't get up until you finish your plate. You can't have dessert until you finish your plate.
Yeah.
We are constantly pushing to eat more, more, more. And
Uh-huh.
so nobody knows what hunger satiety is anymore. And that's what I teach my clients. Like most of my clients don't really, I can't tell you how many people really don't know what
Uh-huh.
it means to be hungry.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's mind blowing, or full or satiated.
Yeah, but I
So
guess, like you say, everything is just so convenient these days. It's dead easy just
that
to go,
too.
so you never, like you say, you're never hungry because there's just a plentiful, in the West, there's a plentiful supply of, you want a snack, you want whatever it is.
And not only that, but we've biologically adapted to survive in times of scarcity. But
Hmm.
we're not in times of scarcity. We are in the most ubiquitously, abundant time in history ever.
Hmm.
And there's constant bombardment of temptation and food and all the time. And you're weird if you say no to dessert. You're weird if you say, I'm not hungry, I'm not eating this meal. But really, it's biologically normal to not eat all the
Yeah.
time. And it's socially awkward.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
flip that, yeah,
Yeah.
and you could
It's
flip that. It's socially normal to eat all the time and
Mhm.
biologically abnormal and unhealthy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Which is, when you think about that, is very odd, isn't it?
Yeah,
You just keep
it's
stuffing your face
crazy.
all the time because it's there.
We we live in a crazy world.
We do.
And so you have to, my clients, I teach them to stand in their truth and to be confident that, like, because everyone's going to try to derail you. Oh,
Hmm.
you don't need to lose weight. Oh, you should finish that. Oh, you should have some ice cream with me. Oh, come on. All this peer pressure, and it's socially normal,
Hmm.
to eat like that. And so
Hmm.
it's a mess. It's a hot mess. And that's why we're eating ourselves to death in the West,
Hmm.
literally.
Yeah.
We're like, in US, we're like 70, almost 75, almost 3/4 of the US is overweight or obese now.
Really. Really.
Yeah. and
Uh-huh.
1 in 3 in the world. It's unbelievable.
I know, obviously one of the buzz things at the moment is gut health, and I wondered how that plays in with, again, a plant-based diet, I guess. Have you got any advice on that at all?
Great question. So your microbiome, we've got like, I think it's 10 trillion, don't quote me on the number, but it's like we've got like 10 times or more the amount of gut bacteria than we have human cells. So we're more bacteria than we are human. And these gut bacteria eat, right? They're living in our body, mostly in our GI tract.
Yeah.
And what's incredible, again, data emerging nonstop about how much influence the microbiome has on our immune function, our gut-brain axis, so our cognitive function, our mental health, our every system of the body is affected by this gut microbiome. So it's fascinating, right? So you want to have and what's so cool is that your body, it's constantly changing.
Uh-huh.
Like the microbial makeup is constantly shifting. Like if you go travel, or if you whatever you ate for lunch, or if you have if you kiss someone, like all the different things are changing your microbiome all the time,
Uh-huh.
which is really empowering, right? Because you can shift it. So you want your bugs in your gut to be happy,
Yeah.
and you want them to be, you want that healthy type of bacteria that's going to help you with all the wonderful things that it could do. And that will also get rid of the pathogenic bacteria. Now, what do the good bacteria love? Fiber, plants, fiber. So right there, where do you get fiber? Only from plants. There
Mhm.
is zero fiber in animal products. There's very minimal, if any, fiber in processed foods. So when you're feeding your body a variety of diverse organisms, plants, you are feeding these great bacteria. You're shifting to get a really healthy, optimal microbiota, and that's going to help overall influence your health. It's like
Mhm.
all these, every time I look at a different mechanism of action by which a diet matters, because diet is the #1 cause of early death and disability in the world. It's the most important thing you could do is your diet. But
Mhm.
we always find all these different mechanisms, and it always comes to the same conclusions. So feeding fiber is great for your bacteria. Eating, it's anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory is great for your health. That's they call it inflammaging. They say that everything that's causing, a health span to deteriorate and aging is inflammation. And so
Mhm.
like you want to have an anti-inflammatory diet where you get anti-inflammatory compounds, plants. It's
Plants.
like a plant, plant, plant. It always comes back to plants.
Comes back to plants. I mean, the thing as well is that, like you said, it can happen so quickly. If you change your diet. So if I decide today that, right, do you know what? I'm just going to eat healthily, whether that be, whatever that looks like, your actual gut, for want of a better expression, flora and fauna changes very quickly. It's not obviously instant, but within probably, I don't know, will you tell me, 24, 48 hours?
Or less. No, it's constant. We are a verb. We are not a noun. We are
Hmm.
constantly changing. Our entire body, every cell in our body in about a year is completely new.
Hmm.
So nothing about us is the same. Every second we're changing,
Uh-huh.
which is really cool, right? It's crazy
It's
to
very
think
cool.
about.
Uh-huh.
But so every bite matters. Yes, every
Yeah.
bite matters. What I was not taught in graduate school or my clinical rotations was what blew me away the most was that I was not taught that you could reverse conditions or that you get off medications. My role as a healthcare provider was to manage disease and to avoid having to increase the medication dose.
Hmm.
But ever since I started this, like from day one, when I started implementing this with my clients, everything was the opposite. Clients get off their medications in days. In fact, it's so scary. Like I do these groups, I'm doing a group right now, a challenge, and anyone that's on a blood pressure medicine or blood sugar medicine has to tell their doctor
Right.
because it could happen in days. One of my last student, within 3, or I guess the first 5 days, he got off of 3 medications that he was on for blood pressure his entire adult life
Wow.
in a week.
Right. From just eating healthily,
Yep, just from
plant-based.
being healthy within a week off of medications from that he was on for decades. Like,
Wow.
and I say results are typical because I see this all the time. It's
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
not extraordinary. It sounds extraordinary and it's extraordinary to witness, but because that's not what we were taught to
I think that's the thing
expect.
as well, because we're used to it. So it's one thing having the knowledge, it's another thing then having the willpower. I'm talking more about myself really, to not go in the petrol station and buy a chocolate bar or just completely derail yourself. Because like you say, society is there to derail you, like I guess to a certain degree, because of you don't need to lose weight, and or just come to the curry house with me and we'll pick up something. And but also I think my own worst enemy in terms of if there's crisps in the house and I'm sat watching the television, even though I don't necessarily want a packet of crisps, it's getting, it's having the knowledge, and then but also having the, if you eat healthily, you then feel the benefits of that, and then I'm running that little bit faster. So you kind of then, it's then the spiral upwards. It's just stopping again. It's very easy, I think, for me anyway, to get the spiral downwards where you go, well, I'll just have a chocolate bar, and then that goes, well, I've had a chocolate bar now, I might as well have a packet of crisps or whatever, and it's that spiral downwards. But I think, equally, if you can get on that upward curve, then
Well, yes, but let me say a couple things. First of all, there's no such thing as willpower. It's been debunked. And you're not broken. This is those foods are designed in labs by very smart scientists on how to make it so you can't eat just one.
uh-huh.
It's they really scientifically analyze how to make the right crispness, the right sweetness, the right salty, the right combination. So it's not you, it's the food. And so
Hmm.
if you get that out of your system, I always say, don't break the seal. Don't even have that first bite. I know if I have one French fry, there
Yeah.
will never be enough French fries. If I
Uh-huh.
have one piece of bread in the bread basket, there will never be enough bread baskets to
Hmm.
satisfy that. It's not me that's broken. It's not you that's broken. It's the foods that they're hyper palatable. You get a larger dopamine hit from those foods. And when you stop eating them, your brain wants more. So it will
Hmm.
do whatever it can to get it. So the key is to not break the seal. And the more days you have away from that stuff behind you, the easier it is to say no to it. But not that you ever become, it'll never be that you don't want the chocolate bar. I still want the chocolate bar, but I know that if I have the chocolate bar, I will keep wanting chocolate bars. So I'm very specific. I call it a day of deliciousness
Uh-huh.
where you schedule in something like that. Like if you really have a period of time where you're just eating like this, just start craving. Like I know it sounds so ridiculous. I swear I never thought I would say something like this. I crave broccoli. I crave salad. I don't like traveling because I love traveling, but I can't wait to get home to eat my healthy food because I love healthy food. It feels good. It tastes good. But when I have, one bite off, what like a meal off plan,
Yeah.
I feel it and I enjoy it. So I schedule it. I'll like when I'm traveling, I'll whatever, it's my birthday, whatever it is, I'm gonna have this meal with this person, it's special, and I enjoy it without guilt or shame or anything. And then the
Hmm.
next day I get back on plan because
Hmm.
I'll feel how yucky I feel afterwards because I've
Yeah.
been without it for so long. But it's not, it's I want you and your audience to know that it's not you. It's literally the food is designed that way, and our bodies are designed or adapted to take in as much calorie as we possibly can to survive.
Hmm.
But we don't need to survive
Hmm.
scarcity right now in
Hmm.
most places in the world.
Hmm.
So it's a biological mismatch with our
It's
society.
interesting you say that, because I used to smoke. Um, I think I gave up probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I
Good
was
for
always
you.
the same. But that was having given up, umpteen million times previously. And like you say, I was fine. Well, I say fine, but I could probably go 2 weeks, and then you have that one, and then
Yeah.
that's all. That's
Don't break the seal.
you've broken the
Yeah.
seal.
Yeah. So I tell my clients, and I say this myself. I'm like, don't break the seal. Don't break the seal. I
Yeah.
know that first bite is all you can't just have one. I can't have one bite of vegan ice cream. I know I
Mhm.
can't.
Mhm. What's your
If
favorite
I'm
flavor, though? If you do have, what's your favorite flavor?
oh, um, they have so many new ones nowadays. It's ridiculous. Like there's like these chocolate peanut buttery crazy things that are insane. I don't even know.
No,
But yeah, but it's good. It's great, but I don't feel good when I eat
I
it.
know that's the
It's
thing
great in the
afterwards. It's
moment.
the yeah, it's the
Yeah, and
aftermath.
the delayed gratification is so worth it because you
Hmm.
feel good, your labs get better, you have the energy, your brain feels better and clearer. And it, like you said, it's an upward spiral.
Uh-huh.
But even if you do go off and have the crisps, it's what you do next that matters most. It's just
Hmm.
knowing that you're gonna have cravings. I've seen with my clients now too, that there's up to a week of cravings and increased hunger after one dose of those hyperpalatable foods.
Really?
A week. So if you know, I tell them just expect you're going to have cravings and increase hunger, and just know what to expect it and know that that's what it is. If you
Hmm.
go without it for those and you get back on your plan, you'll be fine in a few days.
Uh-huh.
And then you get back to normal. You get back to your homeostasis, your
But going back
baseline.
to, I mean, that is remarkable, like you say, where I've not had more. My brain's gone.
It's so late for you.
Where I've um eaten less, and I mean a lot less. Like you say, these calorie deficit diets. I can't be eating this week. I mean, yes, all right, it's only been a few days, but I don't think I must have had more than 1,500 calories a day. And I'm not like, you know what I mean, super hungry, but then I haven't been eating chocolate bars, I haven't eaten chips, I haven't been eating, I've been eating smoothies, drinking smoothies, but vegetable smoothie, like it's a spinach and a lot of ginger and black grapes and just trying to eat healthily. And actually I haven't felt that hungry. Whereas you have a
Exactly.
packet of crisps, you want another packet of crisps. Well, I do anyway.
Yeah. And that's, well, of course, but again, that's not just you, that's the crisps
Hmm.
speaking. And that's what they do. That
Hmm.
food does that. It literally makes you want more.
Hmm.
It's a chemical thing that they've created in a lab. It's hyper palatable. You get a big old dopamine rush and you want more. But when you eat whole foods, it doesn't have that same effect. You get
Hmm.
satisfied and you're done. You can move on with your day and you feel good.
I'm getting back into growing my own veg,
That's awesome.
and it does taste different from supermarket stuff. So
And
especially with the
every veg
kids,
I've had,
getting the
sorry.
kids. Sorry, no, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say everything I've ever eaten in Europe just tastes better over there
Oh,
anyway,
really?
compared to the US. Yeah.
But no, you can. I think it'd be a great thing to get. So the girls are now 4 and 7.
Oh, they're
They're
little.
little. So yeah, I think getting them involved in Izzy, particularly the older one, she loves helping me in the garden and what have you. So I think getting her involved in planting some planting some vegetables and then, cooking and eating the vegetables when they've grown would be a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Research supports that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
Is there any common misconceptions about plant-based diets that you think you should debunk? What's the
Do you want to
biggest one you've
you
heard?
want to talk for 20 hours? We can go on that for at least 24 hours or more. That's what I do every day is debunk the myths. But
Hmm.
I'll say the number one that's doesn't go away, and it's so ridiculous, is this protein thing. And just in general, the world is, I always say the persistent pursuit of protein, I call it the P word. People are obsessed with protein, and most people get too much. And now they're recommending way too much. And it's ridiculous. So we're all eating too much protein. It's not a thing. If you're eating whole foods, you can't not get enough protein if you're eating enough calorie to support your weight.
Hmm.
And people are insane about protein. I just think that I think this pursuit of protein, of getting enough protein, is causing most of our chronic overnutrition.
And you see that a lot on the side of packets now. It's a health benefit in inverted commas that it contains protein. That's a good thing. Not
Oh gosh, not.
not too much.
No, we need something. Just because something's good doesn't mean more is better.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We get plenty of protein. All amino acids are, all plants have all amino acids. The animals get their amino acids from plants, but we don't need to be consumed. The only way we've ever extended health span and longevity in every model organism tested is with the dietary amino acid restriction without malnutrition. Limiting protein is the
Mhm.
only way we've extended health span and longevity.
Really.
But we're chasing proteins like you want to die
Mhm.
young? Like what is this obsession, you know? It's crazy.
I saw on Instagram do you want to talk a bit about proactive eating versus reactive eating?
Oh, yeah, I do talk about that because again, everything's all socialized, right? We're socialized about everything about food. And so this idea of like, I'm going to be, I'm going to the gym later, so I better eat, enough to get through that. Or
Yeah.
I may not have lunch for an extra hour, so I better eat enough. And it's like you're eating past hunger and satiety to avoid hunger later. But like we're not listening to our body. I just want people to tune into their bodies and listen to what they need. Like I love that you're saying now that you're eating less and you're feeling good. You're not that hungry. And you know what? Good for you. You're not. And you're listening to your body. Instead of like applying some external plan, like, oh, you need to eat 1,500 calories, you need to eat it at 9 o'clock and 12. No, listen to your body. Eat when
Mhm.
you're hungry, eat as much as your body needs. Your body will self-regulate if you start tuning back in. We're just so far away from listening in that it's a whole battle just to get there.
No, it has been interesting. Like I say, I'm still in the early days. I'm not saying, I'm away this weekend, so I will have a couple of, in inverted commas, treats. But one thing I've noticed as well is because of my operation, I'm on now thyroxine because I don't have a thyroid.
Mhm.
And when they change your dose, that can affect your lethargy, to the extent where I was having to take naps kind of for 2 hours in the afternoon. And I think some of that, I'm not saying it's all to do with diet, but a lot of that, again, eating less, just feel a lot less lethargic because you're not full and just, that kind of afternoon slump when you've had maybe a big lunch or whatever. But again, if you listen to it, go, actually, I'm not hungry. I'll just have something a bit later on. And I think,
Yeah.
not eating has actually given me more energy, which is kind of counterintuitive, but
It's not counterintuitive because digestion and absorption is a very labor intensive process.
Mhm,
The body has to shunt everything to the GI tract, which is why you're not supposed to go swimming after you eat, right? Your body has to like really focus in on it. And it's diverting from all these other things it needs to do, all this other metabolism stuff that needs to happen besides digestion and absorption.
mhm,
So having time in the fasted state allows your body to do all of these other functions. So it makes perfect sense that you have more energy. You're
mhm.
not sitting there busy digesting and absorbing stuff you don't even need, especially if you're already not even hungry, right?
Yeah.
We've got, adipose tissue is our fat storage organ. Like our fat is, we're storing energy for later.
Mhm.
So if later never comes, we just keep storing and storing and storing, and it's exhausting
Uh-huh.
and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
So it's great that you're listening to your body. I encourage you to keep doing that.
I will try listening to it.
Good.
What would you say what's the best way, do you think, if you're going to transition, say I was going to
Ah,
transition to a plant-based diet, do you think bit at a time, excuse my language here, but bit at a time or cold turkey? And that's maybe not something you should mention turkey if we're going plant-based, but do you think, rip the plaster off and eat your vegetables, or just what do you think?
well, first of all, I always like to say cold tofu just for fun.
Okay,
I'm
right.
not offended by turkey, but it's just fun. But yeah, so cold tofu versus uh stepwise into it. The
Yes.
research seems to show that stepwising into it is more sustainable,
Okay.
but I've seen just anecdotally that it depends on your personality. So what I like to tell everyone is there's no such thing as a perfect diet. No one has a perfect diet. I don't care there's no such thing. It does not exist. It's impossible. So get rid of this like pursuit of perfection. Instead, it's like, I'm going to eat more plants. If you just say, I'm going to eat more plants and make sure you eat vegetables every day, like if you just do a few things at a
Yeah.
time like that, swap in a plant protein for an animal protein or swap in some beans or legumes, hummus, something like that, instead of a meat or dairy, or like maybe you cut out dairy first. I remember that was the first thing I cut out, and that's when everything changed on my health. But, and I recommend everyone cut out dairy because it's
Oh,
very
really?
inflammatory, very, very, very inflammatory. And it's hormonally active. And so we're like, anyway, don't get me started on that because that's a whole other tangent too.
Well, that's
But I
this is
just,
the one. We'll do that one when you come to Scotland.
deal.
We'll do that episode. Okay, right, fine.
Sounds great. Okay, perfect. Yes. But so it's just like making the small changes maybe more effective, and it's not overwhelming. But I also like to encourage people to have fun with it. Like it's like there's a whole world out there that we don't know about because we're sitting there eating a piece of meat in the middle of the plate. That's how we are in the US too.
Mhm.
It's like meat in the middle of the plate, a little bit of potato, a little bit of vegetable. No, you're just like rethinking the plate. And it's fun if you think about it. I have a whole list of types of foods that you could eat, like, curries and pizzas and there's everything you could eat. You can make plant-based and healthy. And again, you don't have to be perfect. So it's just kind of like maybe you've never tried this certain fruit, or you've never even seen this special vegetable, like a bok choy. I don't know, whatever it is, something unique you've never tried. Try it. It's new. It's like
Uh-huh.
opening up your whole world from like 7 animal products to like thousands and thousands of opportunities. Like just
Mhm.
it's incredible and the cuisine from around the world. Oh my gosh, I've published now these 9 books. I'm not a cook. In fact, my first book, they're like, and you have to do 50 recipes. And I'm like, what? I'm not a chef. I know physiology, statistics. I don't know how to cook, but I taught myself and I fell in love with it. But in each of my book, I try to visit around the world. So I'll do, a stew from Africa and I love a lot of Middle Eastern dishes. And I spent time teaching and learning how to cook in Thailand and so many amazing Asian cuisine. So there's so many delicious foods and different flavors. And it's kind of an exciting opportunity or an excuse to think outside the plate.
Would you say there was anywhere in the world that's got a particularly good diet, or
Oh,
equally anywhere where you go, there was, I don't know, where it might be America or the UK, but anywhere where their diet is not so good.
yeah, definitely in the US is really bad, but there's pockets. In fact, I live in a healthier pocket because LA is kind of that's got the vibe here.
Well,
I
plus you're all actors. We've already established you're all actors, so
right,
you've got to look a certain.
right. That doesn't mean that the people look a certain way from eating healthy necessarily. So
Well,
there's
that's
that.
true.
But
But that's another that's a whole other episode.
yeah, I would say Asia does like, well, especially Japan and in Thailand. I was surprised by how much of the street food, it was just a lot of fried food. I spent a
Mm,
lot of time there, a lot of fried food, but it was easy to get healthy food there.
hmm.
And so Asia tends to be a little healthier
Yeah.
from what my experience. I took my daughter to Paris for her graduation last year. I'd never been there before. Oh, Italy is my favorite place in the world, and the food is so delicious. And like I felt like I found a lot of healthy food, but I also did a vegan tour a few years ago that I hosted, and we ate all the vegan junk food too. So, but man, I love Italy. But but Paris, it was like I didn't go to a single French restaurant. I went to like
Oh, really?
Italian, we went to Japanese, we went to like because
Yeah.
we're both plant-based, we were both looking for like healthier food, and that we didn't want to do all the dairy and the meats and stuff like that because we don't do that. So I found that kind of interesting as well. But I did fall in love with baguettes. I'm not gonna lie, that was
Oh,
oh
you can't beat a freshly baked baguette.
no, it was amazing.
Do you not eat bread generally?
I love bread. Well, I was like gluten free for a long time, but sometimes I'm okay with a little bit. But
Mm,
so I will do it, but I have to like set it aside because sometimes it doesn't feel good. But I love it. I love bread. I have a
yeah.
favorite bread at my favorite restaurant, so I had that on my birthday.
Oh,
That's what I was
really?
talking about earlier.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Now, I'm one of the things I know that we're not supposed to be talking about milk because that's another episode.
Right.
But one of the other things I've been toying with as well, again, and I don't know whether they have it in the States, but over here we have something called Zoe, which is like these, you wear like a patch on your arm, and then it tells you whether you send it away to the lab and blah 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 blah, and it tells you whether you have intolerances or, you know, any foods that you shouldn't be eating. And I've kind of toyed with the idea of doing that just more out of curiosity than anything else. But you're shaking
I
your
don't like,
head.
there's so many of those now, and they're all like every single time, they're so inaccurate. Every single time people get the results, it's the foods they're eating the most at that time.
Hmm.
So then it looks like they can't eat anything they normally eat. I went through this many, many, many years ago, and it just was like ruined my life. I'm like, I can't eat all the foods I'm eating. What am I going to eat? And now I work with people that have food intolerances, but the most accurate way to really assess that is food and symptom journal. And if you're really having a hard time, you can't identify it because then you have to limit like what you're eating so that you have fewer variables to have to
Yeah.
compare. If you really can't figure it out, you could do the most draconian thing, but it's the most accurate, and do an elimination diet and really assess it. But those antigen tests and stuff like that, just not accurate, and
Hmm.
just add more. First of all, they're expensive and they just add so much confusion, and a lot of people get stressed out. So I don't recommend them.
No, well, that was the thing. I was thinking that is that just going to be put more pressure on, and how accurate are they? And so, in terms of your gluten, then is that
Mhm.
how did you figure that out?
Yeah, I was
Right.
diagnosed with an allergy many, many years ago, but also I was like, I used to bowl over in agony when I'd have like a bowl of
Oh,
pasta. Like I
really?
wanted to die of pain. So it was pretty obvious that that was accurate.
Uh-huh.
But then I went without eating it for a long time, and it's so hard. It's so much harder to be gluten-free than it is to be plant-based, like a
Uh-huh.
million times. And I was gluten-free. In fact, I wrote a book, Complete Idiot's Guide. I co-authored a book, gluten-free vegan cookbook.
Uh-huh.
And it's so hard. And so over the years, like sometimes I would have a little bit, and if I have a bowl of pasta, I still would be in pain. But if I have a piece of bread here and there, I could be okay. So it
Uh-huh.
just depends. It's weird. I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's the thing about allergies and the microbiome, by the way, immunology. We are the tip of the iceberg with what we know. We don't understand immunology because so many people could have an allergy and then get rid of the allergy, or not have an allergy and all of a sudden have an allergy. And I don't think we really understand it. And I think it has something to do with all the chemicals that are in our environment and food and water and everywhere
Mhm.
now that's
Mhm.
influencing that. But I think we just don't know. Just the science isn't there yet. So it's
No, and you're
confusing.
absolutely right. Like you say, there's some people who I know now have got an allergy who didn't have an allergy, and
Hmm.
vice versa. You're like, well, how's that happen?
Yeah,
It
it's
must be
really,
something that we're eating or drinking or whatever. Um,
I think so.
yeah, no, and obviously I've had an added interest because I've not really. Yes, I smoked, but I didn't. I wasn't a heavy smoker. I drank, as a lot of us did in our sort of teens and 20s, but I've never been a really big drinker. Fairly, what I was fairly active, and you think, well, why? What is it that I've said this before on a previous podcast. We have something on our channel 4 called Stand Up to Cancer, and I remember, so every so often they do like a charity thing, and I remember probably going back, I don't know, 20 years, when they used to have the advert, 1 in 4 people will get cancer in their lifetime. And then not so long ago, it was 1 in 3 people will get cancer in their lifetime. They've just put it on the telly now. It's 1 in 2. So half of us are going to get cancer. But that surely, yes, and I know things are being reported more rigorously, and the studies that you're catching more people with it, and people are getting older. The demographics are getting older, but there must be something in the diet or drinks or something that's making that happen. And I go from my own experience, I've never been particularly wayward, I guess, with my lifestyle, but still got it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know people that live. I had three in like a year period. I had three girlfriends, not much older than me, so in their 40s,
Mhm.
40s and 50s at the time, and vegan for years, and athletes all died of cancer. Three
Really.
women,
Mhm.
young women. It was shocking to me because it's like that shouldn't happen, if you're
Mhm.
taking care and you're being really, but yeah, we don't know. There's so many, cancer is a whole other,
Mhm.
it's like a crazy multifactorial,
Yeah.
complicated, horrible thing that we're dealing with.
I'll finish up with a couple of very quick fire questions. Have you ever tried vegetarian haggis?
I have not. Ew.
Okay.
I don't even know if I want to.
By all accounts, it's very nice. I've not tried it. I've tried proper haggis, but not vegetarian haggis, but apparently it's very nice.
I didn't even know it existed.
Okay. Well, again, when we do the Scotland one, you can
I
try
will
some.
try it. That sounds
And
good.
another hard-hitting question. Do you think pineapple belongs on a pizza?
Yes,
Really?
definitely.
Hmm.
Yes, love pineapple pizza.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, I think we'll end it there. That's been that's been fantastic. Thank you so much for giving up your time. It's been really enjoyable to chat to you. And yes, I don't think we've seen the last of you. We've got another 2 episodes to do.
Yes.
But no, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Um,
much. It was so nice to meet you,
and
Lee.
we'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Take
Okay.
care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Let's start a podcast about our mental